All right. It is Marwan Cameron. This is the Conduit. It is Saturday morning, just after midnight, February 27. This month is almost over. I do hope you've had a good week, and I hope you have a great weekend. It's been a long week. A lot of different things going on. A lot of really good things. Productive week. It was definitely a long week. But I did want to jump on and just kind of talk about a few things. Something that I think is really important that folks need to hear about, especially our youth and our young adults, as we figure out what the new normal is. You know, there's all kinds of conversations and rumors on when things are going to open back up. And so some of the things that I've heard is, United States is running out of money, and we are not going to be able to stay in this position too much longer. And the projections from several people who hypothesize on these things say that, we should be pretty open by the summertime. So if that is so, we've got to get ready either way. And in that, there's all these jobs that have been destroyed. We know that some industries have been accelerated in the fact that they may not come back, right? All the restaurateurs and all the other business people who have lost their businesses have tried to hold on for as long as possible. And have blown through their savings, probably ran up their credit cards, and now their businesses are closed, will probably not find themselves in a place where they're going to be able to reopen, right? So that is, that organization, that business is gone. And I think that's going to be the case for, quite a few businesses, unfortunately. And so, first, what are the owners going to do? Two, where are all those employees going to go? I think that's a concern also. And so just kind of trying to read the tea leaves and think about, what direction to go into. There's been some conversations about, the United States needing to really focus on its infrastructure. And I think that is really important, right? Our bridges, our roads need a lot of work, fiber optic cable, green energy. I mean, there's just all kinds of different things that I believe are going to be the opportunities of the future. And folks are either going to have to retrain, or as they're coming out of high school or, being young adults and trying to enter into the workforce, I need to be considerate of that, right? We know that right now, be great for those that have student debt to have that debt forgiven, but that doesn't look like that's going to be an opportunity. And, that's really almost kind of beside the point because, again, when you think about, the pandemic and what it revealed, one of the main things that it revealed is, what is essential work, right? So a lot of work went away, and, some of that work isn't going to come back, right? We've got automation for some things. We have saturated markets that are going to course correct from the pandemic. And so, I think folks are going to find that their pathways are going to have to take another route. And, you hear, sad stories all the time of folks that have degrees, whether it's a associate's degree or a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, not even working in the industry that they earn their degree in. And so this was already happening pre-pandemic. And so, what is going to happen now as we are entering into, reopening the economy and moving about, the country. So, I think that's a huge concern. I think that we really need to be thinking about that, especially the black community. Right now, we know that, through the civil rights era and whatnot, one of the big things that's happened was, and this is what I was told, right? Even from my father, education, right? Education is power. Education can make all the difference, and it has been impactful for a lot of folks. But at the same time, you do have to be thoughtful on the degree that you pursue, and every degree or opportunity that you go into may not bear the fruit that you hope and want it to, especially if you're hoping that it's going to take care and provide a living wage for yourself and then for your family, right? So I think that's something that, folks really need to think about. And, you may need to retrain and look at those opportunities there. Uh, and so, when I started off at Olympic College back in 2012, I actually was an academic advisor, and I was an advisor for professional technical programs, right? So, accountants, all businesses are going to need that. Business management, culinary arts. I'm just kind of going through the alphabet there, trying to, pull those things out. Electrician, where am I at? F, G, there's quite a few, right? Hospitality, welding, technical design, and just kind of everything in between there. And so, with vocational opportunities, you're able to pretty much kind of get in and get out and, surprisingly start at wages that are often, either competitive or on par or more than going into a traditional transferable degree, right? Especially at the associate's level. So, if you go to, let's say, Olympic College or any other CC, you got your 2-year degree, then you need to transfer to a 4-year institution. You do your other 2 years, you do an internship, you get a job, you're coming in typically at entry level, and you're starting wherever you start, which isn't a whole lot of money, in most cases. But in the vocational sector, you can get out and get to, making some pretty good money right off the bat, and you can do that just with an associate degree. And, folks have kind of frowned upon, vocational programs. And I think, as we need to rebuild our infrastructure, you think about all the opportunities, as tragic as those things are, as I said, rebuilding the infrastructure, the things that are going on in Texas, we have, natural disasters that happen all the time everywhere. And so if you have these skills, it really doesn't matter where you live. You can move, and there's going to be a job for you. And not only can you work for someone else or for a company, many of these opportunities are unionized, so you have some protections and benefits. But then you can also, become an entrepreneur or a moonlight, right, and supplement your income that way. So I think, it's really important to inform folks, of what their opportunities are, and to start thinking of what has been considered non-traditional as maybe being now the new traditional. So, I'm going to go ahead and play a few videos and we'll talk about it. But as I said, I think this is really important, and primarily for our black kids and our young adults, trying to figure out what they're going to do, what's next. And we think about the work sectors that we're in, based on our demographics, and some of that work going away. And not even if the work doesn't go away, we're having these conversations, right? The $15 minimum wage, even if it went through, wouldn't be phased in until 2025. We know that it's not going to happen from what we're seeing, right? Reading the tea leaves, it's not going to make it through Congress. So that isn't even going to happen. And so we have to transition into, gaining vocational skills that we can use to, make more money, get closer to a livable wage or beyond, and or have those entrepreneurship opportunities. So, check this out, and we'll have a conversation, through it. Of course, it's going to play a commercial, right?
Prospects for raising the U.S. minimum wage took a potentially fatal blow on Thursday as a Senate official ruled that Democratic lawmakers cannot fast-track the proposal through Congress. Democrats had hoped to include the minimum wage hike in their $1.9 trillion relief bill, which they intended to pass through the Democratic-controlled Senate without Republican votes. In a statement, White House spokeswoman Jen Psaki said President Joe Biden was disappointed in the decision. The current federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour and was last raised in 2009. Biden and most of his fellow Democrats want to double the minimum wage to $15 an hour by 2025. But Thursday's ruling means that Democrats will likely have to pass a separate bill and undertake the difficult task of garnering some Republican support for the measure. Senator Lindsey Graham, the top Republican on the Senate Budget Committee, welcomed the Senate parliamentarians' ruling on Twitter, writing that, quote, reconciliation cannot be used as a vehicle to pass major legislative change by either party on a simple majority vote. Yet despite Thursday's decision, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said that the Democratic-controlled chamber would still include the minimum wage provision before sending the relief bill to the Senate. That would leave Democratic Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer with the consequential choice of either removing the provision or challenging Thursday's decision.
So as you can see, that sounds to me, and even more information came out on Friday as to, hey, look, $15 minimum wage, it just isn't likely to happen. And again, even if it did, we wouldn't achieve $15 an hour until 2025. And as we've had conversations with various folks throughout the week, we know that that's still not going to be a livable wage. And when I was preparing for tonight's podcast, the next video I wanted to play, I was going to start, kind of in the middle. It's about 8 minutes long. I'll break it up a little bit. But I think it's important now that I go back just on some of the things that I touched on the fact that many folks are steered away from vocation, and folks that have more opportunities, and this is regardless of color or anything like that, are steered into more academic programs, right? And you're going to hear this from kids themselves. And, again, I think this is important because now you have folks rethinking that are traditional students starting to think about, hey, maybe I need to go into some vocational programming. There are folks that have earned degrees that you'll hear in this video that, have left their degrees and have gone into vocation. And so, again, I think what we're going to have happen is when we look at things from a class society, right, from a class status, we tend to react at the lower class. We're going to react slower, right? People in upper classes, they can pivot quicker. They have resources. They have opportunity. And so they can quickly go and retrain, right? And we don't typically get the information, and we're lagging behind, right? It's kind of like first adopters of technology, right? Those that are into technology can afford the technology, can try beta versions of things, don't worry about buying the very first, let's say, iPhone or something like that, knowing that they can buy the next one when it comes out. You got the iPhone 1 and then the 1.5 and then the 2, and they can just continue to buy it because they're first adopters of technology, right? So this is kind of the same type of theory on that. So I did want to kind of go back and play a little bit more of it because I think it really is important. This is from the PBS NewsHour, and this was from February 18 of this year. So let's go ahead and take a look at that.
Jobless claims were high again this past week. More than 860,000 people filed claims. Millions of people are still looking for work, but some employers say they can't find enough skilled workers for certain jobs. That is due in part, they say, to stigmas that need to change. Paul Solman has the story for our series, Work Shift, which focuses on navigating the job market in a post-COVID economy.
Get ready. Get ready. Get ready.
Mike Rowe, man on a mission.
To get dirty. To get dirty.
For years on the Discovery Channel, Rowe was America's hands-on evangelist for dirty jobs.
I am so sorry.
Paving a road.
You're dumping your plastic.
Replacing an oil filter on a wind turbine.
Now that's a nasty, nasty, nasty little job.
After years of romanticizing the unromantic,
It's all about the glamour.
Rowe put money where his body was. The Mike Rowe Works Foundation, which has awarded about 1,000 scholarships totaling $5 million so far.
Typically, what we do is pay the fee that is due to a trade school or an apprenticeship program or sometimes a community college.
Rowe has to evangelize because fewer kids than ever believe in dirty jobs.
Before COVID, there were 7.3 million open jobs, the majority of which didn't require a 4-year degree.
Seattle plumbing contractor Vinny Spizzari.
This
Working
is local.
outside in the cold and the rain, crawling under houses. Those are the things we as plumbers do. Kids these days, they don't want to put the effort in to get there.
Because we're going to come up, through, and then down.
But in a low-wage heavy economy, plumbing apprenticeships start at close to $20 an hour nowadays. And after just a few years and a license, top earners can make $70,000 and up.
Okay, you know, again, this is Seattle, right? This is becoming a plumber, where they will train you in a training program, and they're talking about starting at $20 an hour. So when we are saying, hey, look, $15 an hour isn't enough, even if it passed, it wouldn't be till 2025. It's not going to pass at all. Minimum wage is $7.25. You know, here we're getting paid in the what, $12, $13 an hour, whatever it is right now. But you're talking about training, being paid to train at 20, okay? And then after earning up to $70,000 a year. I'm going to replay that because, again, it's that important.
Nowadays. And after just a few years and a license, top earners can make $70,000 and up. Unfortunately, dirty jobs have had an increasingly bad image, says Mike Rowe, and he thinks he knows why.
The push for one form of education, in my view, really was the beginning of a long list of stigmas.
Let me stop here because it just popped into my head, right? For many of us, whether we're high school students, we're adults working in different industries, whether you're doing fast food or Uber, or I'm going to just say Uber, some kind of delivery, just whatever those low-wage jobs are, here we're talking about in 2 or 3 years, you're making $70,000 a year. I don't know where you're going to make that doing the work that many of the people that can hear me are making now, but these are the opportunities that exist. And yeah, I'm afraid of spiders, so I wouldn't want to go into that crawl space. But there are some things that I would get used to for that, for sure.
And stereotypes and myths and misperceptions that to this day dissuade millions of kids from pursuing a legitimate opportunity to make six figures in the trades.
The culprit, in his view, the supposed cachet of...
He said six figures, right? We're talking about 100,000 plus. And again, it has been stigmatized. And you're going to hear from kids themselves. And I think that's really important, right? To not only hear it from, this gentleman here or, from myself saying, hey, look, people are steered away into more romantic academic programming. And then they have these degrees, especially liberal arts degrees, and they're not able to make a living off of it, right? And you hear about people having bachelor's and master's degrees working at Starbucks as a barista. I mean, it's crazy.
College.
In the eyes of many parents and in the eyes of many counselors, the trade school was the thing you did if you weren't cut out for university.
How many of you would seriously consider a career in one of the trades? A high school class in industrial Lake Charles, Louisiana, anchor of Calcasieu Parish. which President Trump carried by better than 2-1. How many of these kids would consider a future in the trades? Just one. That one is Jacob Brewster, who loves woodworking, and yet he feels the pressure.
It's like, go to college, go to college. There's barely anybody saying, go to trade school, you know?
Not saying it to the 15% of kids who drop out of high school before graduating, nor to the additional 50% plus who don't finish college. Trade school, as post-secondary education, can be a ticket.
Again, and these stats kind of go without saying. Oftentimes people are on this track for college, and by no means, I don't want you to misconstrue, this podcast and this topic as me saying that you should not pursue transfer degrees and academic degrees. What I'm saying is you really need to consider what your future is going to be, what your earning potential is going to be, and what jobs are going to be there for you. It is still the truth that we are not in the old days when someone went to go work for an employer and they worked 30 years and they retired. Those days are gone. We typically change, careers 5 to 7 times, maybe even more. So that being the case, you really need to look at and really think about what you're going to do as you enter into what your career options are going to be. And I can tell you, as an advisor, I tell this story. When I started in 2012, the TV show CSI was a big deal. And I would have students come in, and it's like, okay, so what do you want to do? What do you want your career to be? What is your academic program? What are you thinking about doing? I want to be a CSI, right? I want to be a crime scene investigator. It's like, okay. Do you like math? Nope. Do you like blood? Nope. Do you like science? Nope. Okay. So, it's just, folks would come in, and of course, there's things that you like and you think are cool and you want to jump in, but you don't have that investigation. And I've told that story about me, coming into OC at the time and saying, hey, I'm going to be a business person. And I think with the 2-year degree, I'm going to have a 3-piece suit, an umbrella, and a briefcase making 6 figures with a 2-year degree, right? I was one of those students, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to work in, a professional technical, to work with non-traditional students, because I was that student that had no idea and had, at best, a fantasy of what, a degree could do for me, right? And so I had no idea coming in. And when you don't have an idea and you are, was I obstinate? What's the word for what I was? I was in a hurry, right? I was already 24 when I started working on my associate degree, and I had needed to reinvent myself. I had already lost a lot of income from being injured. I was making a ton of money in construction, and now I've got to do something else because I can't use my body physically to make money anymore. And so I want to get in. I want to go fast. I don't want to hear about how long it's going to take and how many extra things I'm going to have to do. Let me just get in and get out. And I think business people make a lot of money, right? From what I see on TV and what I see in movies. That's what I know. That's what I'm going for. And so those same types of stories would happen over and over again. And it wasn't, kids coming out of high school, or just kids coming out of high school. We're talking about 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds. And that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to be a CSI. They thought it was going to be easy. There were things that they really hated, right? I had folks that wanted to go into the medical field and really hated blood, but they wanted to go in a particular field where they would have to deal with that, So it's like, sure that's what you want to do? Do you know what a day in the life is of what it is that you want to do? Looking at all the requirements. And then when you lay out a degree program for them and they see all the math and all the science, and it's like, no, I don't want to do all that. But yeah, really think about that. And if you're in your career, if you're set, this may be for your children as they come from junior high and start to go into high school. They really should start thinking about those things in junior high school. It may be for friends or family members. This information is really critical for folks.
To a 6-figure income, but it's sneered at by kids, parents, and teachers alike.
That's not an option that's often presented to us. Like, this is not for you.
At least here, there is somewhat of a stigma if you don't go into college.
I have to go to college or I'm nothing.
I think the stigma is real.
Brenda DeFelice has taught in Southwest Louisiana for 30 years.
Because we have so much.
I want to pause this. I didn't look up what school this is. This is in Louisiana, right? I don't know if this is a well-to-do school as far as the income of the parents of the students that attend this school. At the same time, if you notice that all these students are white, and the point of this is that they were all told that you're going to go to college and you're going to work on something academic, and all the way through, right? The advisors, the schools, the parents, the teachers basically said, you're not going down the route of a vocational program, right? So they're being steered away from it. Again, you got to think about what are your options truly going to be. There's going to be more competition as the opportunities that you may be going into start to shrink up. So I just rewound just a little bit.
Because we have so much industry, and we do have a lot of very successful tradespeople here who make a lot of money. I think in our area, it's...
Just go back there.
It's often presented to us. Like,
finish college. Trade school, as post-secondary education, can be a ticket to a six-figure income, but it's sneered at by kids, parents, and teachers alike.
That's not an option that's often presented to us. Like, this is not for you.
You're sneering at a six-figure income, right? It's dirty. It's not glamorous. It's not prestigious. And so that's not what you're going to do. We really have to really rethink that if we're going to take care of ourselves and our families and what the opportunities truly are. One good website that you can look at is ONET Online. What they do is, they have all this different information on what knowledge, skills, and abilities are required for a particular job or career. You can type in by zip code and find out what the typical salary or the hourly rate of pay is in different areas. You can find out the training that's required to get into that field. You can even find out what schools offer that particular training. It's updated all the time. There's some interest inventories that you can take on there if you're kind of undecided, or if you kind of have some ideas on things that you like. What other industries that you might not be considering that align with the knowledge, skills, abilities, and your interest that you can also do, right?
And presented to us, like, this is not for you.
At least here, there is somewhat of a stigma if you don't go into college.
I have to go to college or I'm nothing.
I think the stigma is real.
Brenda DeFelice has taught in Southwest Louisiana for 30 years.
Because we have so much industry, and we do have a lot of very successful tradespeople here who make a lot of money. I think in our area, it's less so, but it's still there.
Atlanta electrician Tanya Hicks sees the same bias in her community, even though unemployment is famously much higher for African Americans.
After the civil rights movement, a lot of African American children were encouraged to go to college instead. Sometimes in the African American culture, blue collar workers are looked down on or like they're less than if you do not have a college degree.
In fact,
we're going to get into that a little bit when we get into our relationship series. If you are kind of into, barbershop talk and some of the water cooler conversations or other, around the dinner table conversations with your friends and family about relationships, especially in the Black community, and how blue collar work can be stigmatized. It is an issue, right? And it does influence, the direction on, what careers people seek, right? And we know that that's evidenced by, as our kids grow up, they want to be basketball players or football players or, artists. And all kids want to, do those things. Or I'd say a lot. When I say all, please understand, from an intellectually honest, position that I'm not saying 100% of all kids. I'm just making a generalized statement that a lot of kids, and that's probably what I should just say, is just a lot of kids. But if I say all, if I don't say 100%, I'm just saying in general, right? It's just me kind of changing that word out. But it is an issue, right? So, kids are going to gravitate what they deem is cool at the time, right? And so things are going to change. Ergo my example on CSI, at that time, that was a big deal, and folks were influenced by that, and they wanted to become crime scene investigators, right? So, this is kind of the same thing. So not only are you competing to go into entertainment or sports, but then you're also going into some of the more glamorized academic programs, right? Or you're being, steered away from vocational programs that, again, many of these are paying six figures as they're sharing. And, there's a lot of us in our community. I think the average for a black man in this country makes about $42,000 to go and look at the BLS stats. But I believe that's right. The average black man makes about $42,000 a year. So if that's the case, and again, that's an average, but you can be well above that average by going into a vocational direction. And again, not only, I think it benefits you in several different ways, right? One, there's work, right? Two, there's unionized work. Three, you can moonlight and do side work. Four, you can start your own business, right? And, five, that work is going to be throughout the country, right? You're going to need plumbers everywhere. You're going to need electricians everywhere. You're going to need framers and carpenters everywhere. You're going to need, infrastructure folks everywhere. So these are opportunities that don't keep you stuck in a typical place. If you find yourself in a small town or a poor city, or you need to relocate for whatever the reason is, you want to be in a more positive place, you want to kind of see the world, then you've got a transferable skill that you're going to be able to move about the country. So it gives you a lot of mobility. Hey, maybe you're looking at it like, yeah, the cost of living in Bremerton isn't as high as it is in Seattle, but and I don't necessarily want to live in Seattle, but this allows me to go and move to Texas or North Carolina or wherever you always wanted to live, right? So it just gives you so much more upward mobility.
College
potential.
grads earn 74% more than those with only a high school diploma, but not that much more than skilled tradespeople. Median income of $54,000 a year for a bachelor's degree versus $51,000 for electricians, $46,000 for plumbers. Although tradespeople...
So what's important about that, too, is not only are they saying that it's on par and the difference is only by a couple thousand, but typically you don't need as much education. So you're going to start making that money faster than that person that needs to go and continue on to get their 4-year degree or continue on to earn their master's degree, right? By the time they earn their master's, you've probably hit your 50,000, right? In the example for the Seattle plumbers, right? They're saying in a few years, they're making $70,000. Well, the college student that's still in college is still there while you're making $70,000, right? So let's say that their junior and senior year, they are still in school. Well, and you're making, let's say 50,000, right? So while you're in school, they've made 50 grand for 2 years. So they've made 100. They've got that up on you. You're probably taking out student loans. So now it's negative for you while they're in the positive. 2, you get out, you're in an entry-level job with your bachelor's degree, if you don't go and continue on with your master's, and now they're starting to hit that 70,000. By the time that person with their bachelor's degree starts to hit their stride, you're at your $100,000 mark. You're really close to 6 figures a year. And it's not likely that you have a lot of student loans. If you do have any student loans, right, with the plumber program, you could go straight through. I went to bricklaying school, and I didn't have any student loans from that. So there's opportunities there where you're not putting yourself in debt. You start earning real money faster, and you can earn it longer, right? And you don't have to worry about trying to pay back that debt. like I said, my student loans are about $350 a month. Well, that's a pretty sizable car payment or a good portion of rent or even mortgage or, several bills that can be taken care of. And again, I'm not, trying to dissuade people from going into an academic program if that's what you want to do and that's what you want to do. I just really think that people need to look twice, 3 times, 4 times at some of these vocational programs, because as the story is saying, it is stigmatized, right? You're not going to be a welder. You're not going to be an electrician. You're going to go be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever else, right? I'm going to go and do a liberal arts degree. I'm going to be, I'm going to study some kind of sociology degree. And, there's not a lot of money in that. And, there's not going to be guaranteed that there's going to be, a job or career for you. And that's why you hear these stories all the time of folks that have these, 4-year liberal arts degrees or their master's programs and they're serving at Starbucks, right? You don't typically hear a plumber, tending bar or, serving coffee because they couldn't find a job being a plumber,
They have somewhat shorter careers. But regardless, Mike Rowe says, there's a disconnect.
If you look at the way colleges have been able to raise their tuitions, and if you look at the speed with which the skills gap has widened, and if you look at the number of kids who are out there, well-educated, but hopelessly in debt, and not trained for a multitude of good jobs that actually exist, you begin to see the degree to which we're disconnected.
But as an economist might ask, or a Buddhist, what do you mean by a good job?
I have nothing against people that want to go to college. However, they can't find a job and now they're just in this insurmountable debt.
Michael Barbosa, now 26, had a scholarship to attend college, but dropped out.
I worked as a barista and a grocery store clerk for minimum wage. It was really hard to get by. The only way to really get by was to work a lot of hours and multiple jobs.
This is probably something that resonates with many of you listening to this broadcast, right? That you did have to or do work multiple jobs, right? And we know that the minimum wage or the wages that you're earning now isn't enough. Not only is it not enough for yourself, but it's not enough for you and your significant other, you and your child if you're a single parent, custodial parent, you, your spouse, and your children, right? It's not enough money. And so this is a perfect illustration of what I'm trying to really hammer home here.
But on one of them, working in construction supply, he had his epiphany.
When I was doing my drywall stocking, I ran into a lot of plumbers, and they would ask me, why are you just drywall stocking? He says, don't you want to learn a trade?
There is so much hands-on work.
Barbosa is now training to be a plumber and being paid $16 an hour to learn. Daniel Stanky finished the same program, is now an apprentice plumber.
Both my parents went and graduated from college. My original plan was to become a history teacher. About halfway through, though, I fell out of love with that idea. Kind of started looking around at other opportunities potentially.
Okay, so as you can see, this is Mr. Reuter in Seattle, right? This article, a web article, it was from last week. Okay, so $16 an hour. He is being paid to train. So now he's not using his degree. You got all that lost time in school, all the classes, all the hours, all the financial aid, the potential student loans, right? That's all out the window. He's being paid $16 an hour to train for a job that's going to pay him $70,000 in a few years. And I know that there are many of you that aren't making $16 an hour now. Just want you to consider that. There are many of you who may have junior high or high school students that you may be considering putting on a path that, you have it locked in and this isn't even something that you've really considered, right? Because we kind of have our ideas on what it is we're going to do oftentimes. Just like as I said that I did as I went into to college at 24, right? I need to get in, I need to get out. I didn't even consider, I figured I had to use my mind, but I didn't think about really, going into some other vocational things that wasn't as physically demanding on my body. I just had these, horse blinders on, and I was going to go in the direction that I thought was going to make the most money the quickest. And I was so wrong, right? And it took me years to, kind of find my path and find my way and really start becoming more open-minded and thinking a little bit more, what is it that I'm going to do? Unfortunately, that really didn't happen until close to, my bachelor degree being finished. And, I didn't have the time, I'm not a 19-year-old, and a junior in college, right? I'm 24. I already have a child. So like I said, the stakes are higher at that point in time. So if you are, finding yourself in a place, especially now, I mean, we've got COVID, everything is shut down. And as things open back up, all these folks are about to rush to market, right? Everybody needs a job. Well, if you're doing the same type of work as many other folks are doing, they're all now trying to apply for that job. And you'll see it, right? And then organizations can be a lot more picky on who they select. And so by choosing a vocational opportunity, that can make you, competitive, give you some opportunities to move about. Like I said, have that mobility.
His boss says he'll make 6 figures this year. And then there are those few like Sarah Schnabel.
Wait, what was that? Let me just rewind
make
that.
6 figures this year.
Way through, though, I fell out of love with that idea. Kind of started looking around at other opportunities potentially.
His boss says he'll make 6 figures this year. And then there are those few like Sarah Schnabel, who graduated with a math degree from Ivy League.
Well, let me pause there. Let me tell you. Okay. I didn't make 6 figures being teaching at the college. And I actually didn't teach in just one discipline. I actually was on several different payrolls. I did a lot of different things there. And with all of that, I was working at times anywhere between 60 and 70 hours a week and was not making 6 figures. Okay. So again, really something to consider. What that looks like for you, what your quality of life works for you. There's in different circles, they talk about things that many of us haven't even heard those concepts. So those concepts have no reality in our own lives. Work-life balance. You got to do what you got to do. You've got to go and work, your job at fast food, and then you have to go and drive a taxi, or you're over here doing this particular job, and it's long hours. It's the middle of the night. Maybe you're running the front desk at a hotel or a motel, or you're housekeeping, or you're doing something along those lines, and you're doing that at night. You're trying to, wake up on 2 or 3 hours of sleep, take care of the kids, get them out to school, go and do some other things, and you're trying to piece it all together. And again, these are industries that both men and women can do. So, women can be plumbers, women can be electricians. This isn't, relegated just to males.
Cornell.
Growing up, it was always like, oh, you went to the trade school because you didn't do well in school. I still get comments from my family like, why are you doing this?
She now works with electrician Brian Lamort, who graduated from Towson University in Maryland with a computer degree.
In college, would you have thought that you would become an electrician?
No.
Why not?
At that point, I figured I'm training myself to go out and work for some big company and be a systems analyst or something like that. But in reality, I eventually came to find you can become replaced very easily. You can become very comfortable and then become obsolete very fast in the tech world.
So I love his heading right there, right? I just wanted to rewind that. I probably need to move myself off of this so that you can see. But what that says is Brian Lamorte is the owner of Lamorte Electric, right? So this gentleman went to college to go into the computer field. He's in the computer field and is realizing, hey, look, man, this is some fierce competition. and I can go and do something else. I've got these transferable skills, right? And I'll go and I'll become an electrician, and I'll work in that industry, and now he's owning the company. This is what I'm talking about, right? Having these other opportunities that you can do, right? You're working smarter, not harder. You have more income, more discretionary income. You're able to have a savings. You're able to have a retirement plan. Maybe you're able to take vacations. These are things that weren't happening when I was growing up, right? And not being able to do these things. And as again, we have this pandemic. We don't know how things are going to fare as we come out of it. There's a lot of folks that are out of work. There are a lot of folks that are going to be looking for work, more so than who was already your natural competition, right? There's going to be, more folks that have lost their jobs and trying to find something. There's going to be a lot of desperation, and, businesses win when they have this super huge pool of applicants and they can be picky and just choose the very best of everyone, right? This is what I think folks are going to have to deal with.
I'm very comfortable and then become obsolete very fast in the tech world.
Look, says Mike Rowe,
a liberal arts education is not the enemy. I've got one. It served me well. But there are entire categories of work that are shrouded in mystery. And if we don't demystify them and destigmatize them, we're going to be waiting for plumbers and electricians for a long, long time.
Is the gap closing? Is the stigma beginning to dissolve, or no?
I think it is. And perversely, I think COVID might have something to do with it. I'm sure you've noticed there's a new word that's really been injected into the lexicon: essential.
Which is, in fact, just how Vinny Spazzari's plumbing apprentices feel.
Sometimes you're just people's heroes, especially if they've been in a bad spot for a couple days. They actually,
I think that's really important too. For a lot of folks, when the restaurant industry shut down and everything had to be closed, right, or went to 25% and all these other things, the companies that thrived were the ones that were deemed essential, and were able to stay open. And so with that, being able to still operate either through your own business or through an industry where you are deemed essential is going to be important, because you want to try to insulate yourself against all these outside forces that you can't control. Like we said, there's locus of control, right? And we'll get into SWOT analysis at some point in time, but what a SWOT analysis is looking at what your internal strengths and weaknesses are, and you're measuring them against the outside opportunities and threats that exist, right? And so we don't know what the next pandemic is going to be. We don't know how we're going to react to it. We don't know what the shutdown is going to be like, what the impact on the economy is going to be. We don't know how long we're going to be in this situation, what jobs are going to be destroyed, what opportunities are going to come up. So you want to have as much foresight as possible to try to go into industries that are going to insulate you as much as possible, right? And provide you with a livable wage that you can take care of yourself and your family. For the folks in Texas, there were generators that were for sale. And of course the price got hiked up a little bit. And from what I understood, prices were going for like $1,000 a generator. Even Rob, one of the board members at G2, he bought his parents. They're in Texas and they needed a generator, right? His father needs to have a health machine. His father is elderly, and it needs to be on all the time. And so they had to get a generator down there. And do you have the money to be able to do that? Are you in a position where you can continue to earn during that time? And if you've ever had to call a plumber or an electrician or one of the trades for some kind of an emergency, you know that they're charging extra, right? Hey, it's an emergency, we're coming out, and it's and I don't know how much I paid for something happened with the water. I don't know what we paid. Is it $200 an hour? It was something ridiculous. But we had a plug, a drainage issue up at the church that we were serving out of, and so we needed them to come right away. And yeah, the upcharge on that or nighttime, come out right now, is crazy, right? And so if you are that business owner, that's you doing the upcharging.
They have Call Me Heroes. It's just great,
I can't tell you the amount of pride from people in our industry, how we felt that we needed to keep the country going. And we have the jobs of the future for sustainability.
Let me go ahead and pause that again. Again, really important, right? This is Tanya Hicks, and I know my name is covering it, but she is the president and CEO of Power Solutions International. Again, right? She is not only bringing in her own salary, but she's able to employ people and to help them, take care of their families. So, I mean, that's really powerful. It's really powerful. And many business owners, a lot of times they're hiring their friends and their families. And so, that's another consideration also. It can be a family affair. If you have other people that are interested in going into that, right? Or working in different sectors. You've got, that family member that's always been good with keeping the books and whatnot. And while you're trying to grow, you may need to, you're not paying them, the full amount or however you guys work it out until you grow the business. I mean, there's just so many different things you can do. So, I just hope that this is illuminating for some folks and just really kind of get your juices flowing and thinking about the other opportunities that potentially exist out there for you.
To keep the country going. And we have the jobs of the future for sustainability and energy and water conservation.
As you can tell from the music, I'm about to wrap things up.
All of which makes Mike Rowe think, or maybe hope.
And when things get back to normal, this country is going to enter a new age of work. A new age of making things and fixing things and building things. An age where skilled workers are going to be in demand like never before.
We'll see. For the PBS NewsHour, Paul Salman.
All right, so that's that article there. I wanted to come on yesterday and have that discussion. Yesterday was Friday. I wanted to come on at about 7 or 8. So, it's midnight. Usually there might be one or two people that are up. And what I think I'll do is if I'm doing really late ones like this, I'll like relaunch it in the morning so folks can see it. But I think this is really an important one to me. As I said, as I have advised, hundreds of students through their academic planning. And I've watched tragically while students have worked. I've seen everything. I've seen students come in, decide what it is they want to do, like CSI, go toward that program for a year, and then figure out that's not what they want to do, right? Because they didn't measure twice and cut once. What they did is just said, hey, this is what I want to do. I'm pumped about it. And they went for it, right? And the motivation that they had was fantastic. They just didn't stop and think about what it was. Oftentimes I'll tell folks, even if you have a good idea of what you want to do, maybe look at, a few of the opportunities that you think would be good. Like, what are your first, second, and third options of careers or jobs you would like to do? And then kind of try to figure out what things you can knock out that will go for all of them, right? And oftentimes it doesn't matter what you need to do, you're going to need math and English. And tragically, folks will wait till the end because they hate their math, right? And for our non-traditional students or returning students that haven't been in a math class in a long time or even a writing class, and they go and they take the placement exam, they find that they place lower than college level. And sometimes that could be 2 or 3 classes below college level. And, even though they're told that they can, if they earn a certain grade, they can skip a class and do some other things, that's not the reality for everyone. And it adds time to your degree or your certificate, right, that you're trying to earn. Also, some classes are only offered certain times of the year. So if you're trying to deal with sequencing, but now you have these other classes that you also need to get in, then that becomes a hardship because that might throw your whole degree out of whack. That was my experience, right? It took me, I think like 7 years to get a 2-year degree, right? Because I'm working at the same time. I was undecided on what I wanted to do. I was all over the place, right? And so it added a lot of time. And I saw that as an academic advisor, right? And the motto is I advise, you decide. We don't tell you what you're going to do. We just advise you what your options are, and then you make your decision based on, the information you take in and you use, what you hear. But I would say the most successful students were ones that even if they knew what they wanted to do, they had their plan, they really investigated what it was going to take for them. They kind of laid out how long it was going to, they had a plan. They knew how long it was going to take. If they had a few different classes that they wanted to do or programs that they wanted to do, then they would try to take classes that would allow them to go both ways. And what they would do is supplement, like maybe they would do an English and a math and a class, a welding course, or English and a math and a computer course, right? And that would kind of give them to dip their toe in and say, okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm really liking computers. This is definitely reinforcing what I thought that I liked. Or you get in there and you're like, man, computers is okay, but man, this welding class is like awesome, man. I love it. I'm learning a lot. It's hands-on. This is great. And I can make this, in this industry and whatnot. So, at the end of the day, just use the information that is given to you from the different places. Please do seek out information, ask questions. The only stupid question or the only bad question is the question not asked. And that really is a true story. And then, do your research. There's like I said, onetonline.org is a good place for you to go and take a look at that. They have some antiquated videos on there where you can see kind of a day in the life of what that job is, like how much paperwork is required, how much hands-on is there, truly going to be. And like I said, what schools are there, how much you're going to get paid, based on zip code. And so that really can help you make an informed decision on what you can expect to maybe make, right? They can tell you whether or not it's a bright outlook. Is there going to be a lot of work on the other side, or are you going into a career that's kind of sunsetting, right? There's not a lot of growth in this industry and it's being phased out. So you may not want to get a degree in that particular field, right? You may want to do something that is close or similar, but not into that. Also consider, as you're going into these programs, what options exist as far as, hey, I've got these knowledge, skills, and abilities and this aptitude and my interest, and I was thinking I was going to be an ultrasound tech, let's say. And so I'm kind of in the medical field and I'm doing this, but based on the requirements for that job, right, and the interest in what people typically do and what they like, it can show you what other careers and options exist out there that's similar to that you may not even be thinking that you could do. And it's like, what, I would be just as happy as being an ultrasound tech as being, something else, right, that came up. So please, check that out. Again, if this information isn't relevant to you, it's probably relevant to, a family member, a junior high kid, a high school kid, non-traditional, and a returning learner, someone who's in between jobs, is trying to figure it out. Many folks are on unemployment right now. And as I said, we are going to open back up at some point in time. And again, there's going to be a lot of competition for jobs out there because a lot of jobs have gone away. And so there's going to be a lot of people looking for work. And this may be your opportunity to retrain, right? And, again, as there are programs, there's still only a certain number of seats, right? So let's say, things open back up and you're like, you know what? I finally figured it out after a while. It took me a little bit longer. I'm very delayed. And you look up and let's say welding for some reason was like in super high demand. And then you go and you're like, I want to go and get into welding. And they're like, well, all the classes are full, right? There is going to be a lot of competition as people start to retrain and do different things. So, this is the time now, if you're at home or if you're working a job that is kind of a job and not a career, to start investigating these things and seeing what opportunities are going to exist. My hope is that, the government will set up some job training programs, some retraining opportunities more than what exists now, so that folks will have some opportunities to retrain. So do look out for those things. If I come across that information, I will definitely share it out. As I said, it is really important. And, you heard it from the students, themselves in their article. Parents, teachers, haven't typically steered people into vocational programming. And again, it is a great way to be able to take care of yourself and your family. So, just be thoughtful on that. Well, I'm not going to stay on too long. I think I've been on here for about, maybe an hour, a little bit more. So I will probably go. Oh, hey, I didn't even look over in the chat. I see Miss Cynthia is on there. Hey, Miss Cynthia, good to see you. That is the truth. After hours will cost you dearly. Yeah, I'm an insomniac, so I'm up late. I'm up early. I'm just up. She's saying I'm right. When I was at UWT, we looked at careers and how much they pay according to the education and also location. We looked at the difference in not having an education versus each level of education and much more, which careers were booming, etc. Yeah, I mean, Cynthia, I saw it so much, and especially it was so tragic to watch a student be so gung-ho on what they wanted to do. And even if they were unsure, they didn't want to look like they were unsure, even though they're at an institution where they're supposed to learn. And learning means that the absence of knowledge, right? So you're not supposed to know, but they wanted to act like they knew. And they would go down this path for a year and a half, and then figure out, man, that's not what I want to do. Or they would start going down a path, and once they discovered some of what they had to do, like the requirements were more, because sometimes, students will come in like a week before the quarter or 2 days before the quarter, and they can hurry up and we'll get them into a class. And it's like, all right, sometime during the quarter, come back in and let's start planning it out. And maybe because of midterms and finals and just life and it being new, they don't get a chance to, figure it out. So now they're on the next quarter, and then they go and get put into kind of a temporary quarter. Let's get you on your prereq so you could do this. Or this is a class, take PE, take fast fitness. And then they do another quarter, and now they've got a half year behind them before they're actually, in a place to sit down and actually think about what's happening, right? And if they start in winter and then do spring and it's summer, well, I'm not going summer, so I don't find out until fall, or, rinse and repeat. I've also seen folks come in and, they think that they're going to do a 2-year degree, and based on their placement, they've got all this developmental math and English, and they've added so much time to their degree that it's going to be 3 years or 3.5 years for them to do it. I've also seen, really sadly, folks that come in, and I was at Olympic College for 5 years, so I would see students come in, start the process, work on their degree, and tell themselves, I've got to make money now, and look at the opportunity cost and say, well, I've got to quit school and I got to go to work. And while I understand that folks need money, what they're not looking at a lot of times is, okay, you started this process, you have financial aid, you haven't applied for any grants or anything like that, you haven't thought about student work or taking a part-time job to try to supplement it. You just say, hey, look, I've got to go and I've got to work full time. So you're going to go and work 40 hours a week. You're not going to go to school. And the difference in money that they have coming in is really minimal, right? And I say it's minimal from my perspective. And so I'm understanding that $200 extra a month may feel like it makes all the difference. But what they're looking at is they're making the $200 a month, let's say, for 2 years. So they make an extra $4,800. But if they apply for the grants, which a lot of people are like, no one gives me the grants. And then, I taught grant classes, and scholarship courses. And once grants and scholarships started coming in and started proving people wrong, it's like, oh man, okay, people actually do get these grants and scholarships. It's like, yeah, because people always say that you don't get it, or it seems like it's not worth the time. And it's so interesting, kind of as a segue, or as I go down a rabbit hole, I say, okay, there's a $500 grant, right? And all of a sudden folks will look at it like, man, it's a $500 grant. I'm not writing no paper for $500. Like, okay, why wouldn't you do that? Well, because I'm too busy for that, and it's for such a little amount. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Well, how much is your time worth? And they'll say something like, my time is worth $50 an hour. My time is worth $100 an hour. And it's like, well, is that what you're getting paid now at your current job? No, I'm making 10. So your time actually isn't worth $50 an hour or $100 an hour. But let's say that it was. How long would it take for you to actually write this 750-word essay? If I really sat down and just really got onto it, wrote it, and proofread it and edited it, it would take me 2 hours. Okay, so then you can, if you get it, you'll make $500 for 2 hours worth of work. Even if it took you 5 hours worth of work, you'd make $100 an hour. If you do get it in 2 hours, you make $250 an hour. Really? So that's not worth your time? And so changing that perspective and breaking it down that way, you would get, I'd still only get maybe 20% of students that would say, light bulb went off. That's awesome. Nope, there's nothing else that I think that I can do, I have access to do, where I'm going to make that much money per hour, and it's absolutely worth it. And, I've had students share, I got $3,500 for this grant, and it really didn't take me anything to apply for it, right? Most of it was like check boxes and things like that. I just really sad things. He's saying, I've seen that too. I met a lot of people in the workforce who were displaced workers who needed to be re-educated and retrained. Yeah, man, it's so tough. And it's like, I just wish we had USBs in our brain and I could just plug it into you and just download the information so you understand it and you get it. It's like, actually, you're saving a lot of time. You'll have money. You don't pay it back. You'll have less stress. You do student work. You work at the college. They're understanding that you are a college student. Maybe you're staffing the front desk or doing whatever. They actually encourage you to do your homework when you're not facing a customer or have anything to do and you're not busy. You're already on the campus. You don't have to drive or get on the bus to go to work. You know what I'm saying? You got a grant from the WWIN program out of 250. They said, yeah, I mean, why would you not try to do that? One of the things I did, I don't know if you ever heard of myscholarly.com. It's something that you can give to your folks. But it was a brother who was on Shark Tank, and he had built an app for scholarships. And what you did is you put in all your little demographics, and it literally was just checking boxes. And then it would generate all the grants and scholarships that you were available for. And they had things like, just random things. Were you left-handed? Did you speak Klingon? I mean, some of the funny ones, right? Were you a child of someone who died while they were in the armed forces? Were you a victim of domestic violence? Do a 1-minute video essay, literally on your smartphone. Do a 1-minute video essay on whatever the topic was because you're going to that degree program. And you'd be surprised how many people would not want to do it. And so I actually paid for the app, and I gave everyone my username and password so that they can have access to it and just look at it and kind of fill it in, and it's like, oh, guys, man, you don't, the L word is bad. You only take the loans if you have to. And at the 2-year level, you shouldn't be taking loans. There's just too many opportunities out there. But yeah, it's MyScholarly, which I'll put in there. MyScholarly, I think it's .org or .com. So, but if you type that in, that'll come up. That's a great, you got FastWeb and some of the other ones up there, but they never talk about that in most of the academic circles. So that one really is a good one. And it will generate I mean, it'll take you like 15 minutes to check it out, but there's no actual typing. You're literally just checking all the boxes of things that fit, you know. Oh, you did 4-H when you were in school. You did, I mean, it's just the most random things. And there's a grant or a scholarship for everything you can think of. And so folks would do it, and they would have like 70 different opportunities for scholarships to apply for. And then it would have it by date, and you could set alerts. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to apply for a scholarship that isn't going to come due in for 5 months, but you could send an alert and it would tell you, okay, hey, you got like a month and a half before the scholarship comes up, and then you can go ahead and do it or alter it. And the folks that listened, I mean, I've had people getting $5,000-$6,000 at OC in grants with their FAFSA, and they weren't stressed at all while they were in school. So yeah, it's just trying to convince people to do it. But again, like I was saying before, you know, that opportunity cost of folks being leaving school, going back to McDonald's or some kind of dead-end job that's not paying minimum wage or $12, $13 an hour versus, you know, staying the course and figuring out how to supplement that income and using your resources, you know, to get through. You are going to get through that other side. And once you start making that money at that level, those other people aren't going to be able to catch you. And sadly, I would see Cynthia come into school, do 2 or 3 quarters, disappear for a year, and then come back. And it's like, oh, man, I just realized I really do need to be in college. And it's like, oh, man, you know, I mean, you just cost yourself a year. What did you do during that time? Oh, I was working at Burger King full time. And it's like, okay, well, with your FAFSA and the student work, you know, student employment and scholarships, you would have made that same amount of money or very close to it. You know, it's just really tough. You said, I need that. I want to go back. Yeah, man, you know, a lot of my mentors tell me I should get my PhD, and I'm just like, you know what? I still got so many student loans. Yeah, it ain't happening. You know, I don't have the, I mean, it'd be great to have, but I really at this point would only be doing it to be Dr. Cameron. And, you know, that's not really a reason to do a degree. So I'm not going to do it. And like I said, I already have all the student loans. And right now, I don't think there's anything that I want to do that would require me to have that. So it doesn't really make any sense for me to go back into debt. So I won't be going back, but you know, it sometimes it sounds fun. It'd be kind of cool to be Dr. Cameron, but yeah, nah, there's too much to do. Too many people need help, and you know, I just can't see myself right now sitting down being in the books. Although there are a bunch of topics that I would love to do my my dissertation on, a bunch of subjects that I would love to do. I don't know if I can monetize it. It would be more like a kind of a liberal arts type thing, you know, investigating different social issues. So, you know, another reason why, I'm not going to do that. But I hope you had a good week, Miss Cynthia. And when are you going to come on into the podcast so we can chop it up on live? Because you got a lot to share and a lot to say. I want my master's to increase my education in the field to extend it in the mental health area. Yeah. No, I think that would absolutely be awesome. And with the master's programs, I mean, you can do a lot of those. Some of them you can do in a year now. So, you know, year and a half, you can knock it out pretty quick. And a lot of them are really flexible and online. So, you know, definitely look and see what programs are out there. They have fellowships, which can pay for it. And again, grants and scholarships. And yeah, definitely doing it online will help quite a bit. And then I don't know what programs are in your field particularly, but like UOP, I know that used to have some stigma to it in the past, but University of Phoenix doesn't have the stigma that it used to have. But there are other colleges and universities that have started to kind of follow suit with their programming as far as having flexible start times, or they're starting up every few weeks. so you can jump into a program and kind of get it done. They have somewhere you can work on your own pace. I think WGU is a really good one, which is Western Governors. And so it was like a bunch of governors came together and decided they needed some kind of education, if I remember it correctly. So they needed the flexibility. And so, their program is super flexible on how you complete that. So you can still kind of do all your other duties at the same time, which is great. So, yeah, and yesterday, the one with the commissioner, which is the full interview, the full hour and 18 minutes is on YouTube, which is a really good one. I loved how open he was. I'll have the mayor on soon. I thought he was going to come on at the same time as the commissioner, but we got our wires crossed because they were both coming into the same email. And so I think the commissioner was like, hey, I think the mayor was going to want to come on at the same time. Is that cool? And it was like, yeah, sure. So I sent out the link, and then the mayor was like, oh, no, I was stuck in meetings. I can't do it right now, so I'll have my secretary schedule it. So he'll be on there. And then I've got some other folks that I have on. So I got a super big announcement that I'm going to announce next week on some ideas that that had just popped into my mind, just kind of seeing, well, you know what? No one else is watching this right now, and who knows if they'll even watch to the end, Cynthia, so they don't know. But what I was thinking about, what I'm going to do is I had Ashley on first, then I had, let me see if I can remember. Well, I had Reverend Hall, and she's got 3 books out. Ashley's got, the Admirals. Then I think I had, Connor, and he's part-time real estate agent. Then I had Daryl, and he's got his YouTube on financing. And then who did I have after that? I hate that I can't remember everyone. Oh, then I had a Rick with his parents running the barbershop. So I'm like, you know what? I am going to provide, at least for 6 months, free advertising for Black businesses on my podcast. And that is something that I can do. I don't have to worry about, that trying to get, TV spots or marketing is really expensive for any kind of company. So I'm going to do that for 6 months. I'm going to be interviewing, Unique Designs down there on Callow. It's Unique something. So I'll be interviewing them sometime next week. And so that's what I'm going to do. I was just thinking about it, Cynthia, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to rep all the Black companies. That's going to be something that I do. And we're going to kind of push, support Black business. This is what they do. This is where they're at. I didn't even know that, I hadn't met Rick, but I didn't know that his parents were running the barbershop. I knew about that barbershop and their apprenticeship, but I don't think a lot of people know about that. And then, the gentleman with the finance channel, and then, you got Connor with the part-time real estate, as a growing entrepreneur. I mean, there's just a lot of good, young folks doing good things here in Kitsap County. And it's like a secret, So I am not going to let it be a secret anymore. I'm going to push it out there, Cynthia. So that is the plan. That is the plan. So if you know of anyone that does have a business, please let them know. They can contact me. You can give them my contact information, and I will put them on the podcast, and they can, send me some materials, and I'll push them out there. So I think that'll be really good. I know you listen to it when you're working, because if I do one in the daytime and you jump on, I'm like, okay, I know some of these folks are at work right now, so they must have me on. So that's really cool. Let me ask you, what's like a good time, because I still don't know the best time to do the podcast. I want to try to get the viewership up. I know this isn't a good time because most people are asleep, but I'm like, man, do I do it at 5? People might be, just trying to get home, even if they're working from home, and then getting dinner and the kids and whatnot. Like, is 7:30 a good time? Is 9 p.m. a good time? Is during the day cool? Do I do one during the day so folks like you can actually listen to it, while you're at work? I'm not sure. So I got to figure that out because I do want to increase the viewership, so people can get this good information. And then, have a place to stay connected that's positive and positive locally. Because I think, what we end up happening is we see local stuff, that's more national, but we don't see a lot of positive social media stuff that's local that we're doing, about 6 or 6:30. Okay. Yeah, then I think maybe that's what I'll try to do. Some of the interviews I may not do live, but I'll launch them at 6 or 6:30 since people can watch it. And then I might even do some recorded interviews where I launch them at 6 or 6:30, and then I'm physically there so that I can man the chat, more interactively, and maybe even pause the interview or something like that. So that'll help with the with any of the tech issues. Because with the commissioner yesterday, it was Comcast. So I was saying everything that could happen has happened. Like literally, I got a new router on Christmas Eve, spent $400 on this router, and then the router got the red rings of death last week. I got a new computer. Everything is basically new to be able to do this. And then the computer was having some issues. And then you always have issues with multiple programs working and whatnot. So I got everything worked yesterday. And then all of a sudden it's like, man, the Zoom is dropping off and all this crazy stuff is happening. And then Rob sent me a text message and he said, and I was going to put it in there. I was going to put a JPEG up to show that Comcast was out in my area. And it's like, wow, man, even when you get it all right, something out of your control is going to happen. So it's like, what can you do? You just got to keep smiling and keep going through it. So, but I tell you, man, it has been an experience for sure. Also, Cynthia, if you think of any kind of conversations that you think would be beneficial to have, even in your work circles with your folks or whatever, we can do group Zooms. I think that would be beneficial too. Like I'm trying to talk with some of the junior high and high school kids about going back to school. We're gonna do a series on relationships. We're gonna do a series on mental health, and so we'll do one-on-one interviews, but I also want to do like group Zoom interviews where there's several of us on the Zoom at the same time, kind of having these discussions, because I think that'll be important too. Plus, the more people that engage, the more buy-in you have. I think it'll also, help to start removing more and more of that stigma of people seeking mental health, knowing that there's, folks here in the area that they can go and get advice from, get help from, have good examples of healthy relationships, either young or old. It's not just the, grandpa and grandma who's been together for 40 years. That is the paragon of black love and love, anyway. But they get to see, folks like Ashley and some of the other ones that I've already interviewed who have been together for 9-10 years and that are doing it and are in healthy Christian relationships. So I think that all those things are things that we need to see more of. So if you have any ideas of podcasts you want to do, like the one for talking to the kids wasn't my idea. That actually came from somewhere else. And it's like, yep, okay. So I just started putting it out there. So yeah, for sure. I mean, we can do anything we want, and I think that's the thing I love the most is, aside from saying something that might get us kicked off of Facebook or social media, there's not a lot that we can't do. So I really wanted to get away from being, pigeonholed into, you can only do what's safe, or you can only do what this organization says you can do. And I think at the end of the day, we know what's best for us. And when we're talking about, black folks for sure, I believe that what needs to happen as we move forward is we need to be the arbiters of our own design. So, we don't need to be looking for the mainstream to tell us who we need to listen to as our thought leaders as far as what black interests are. We know what our black interests are, and our black interests aren't always that of what's coming from Cardi B or what's the other one that did the WAP song with her? You know, I mean, it's I think it's because people in this area overload Zoom around the same time because my coworkers be on Zoom at 5. Okay, in groups. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Friday is a really busy day for Zoom too. And I will. Have you asked Pastor Coleman? I have not asked Pastor Coleman yet. I don't know if I'm friends with Reverend Coleman on Facebook. Let me see. I know I am with Richmond, but I don't know about Coleman. Let me see if I'm friends with him. I could be. You know, it's so sad. I got like 1,400 friends, and I don't know who probably 1,100 of them are. I have no idea. I don't think I'm friends with Pastor Coleman online. I don't see it. But yes, I would love to have him on for sure. He was watching one night? Was he really? Oh, okay. Well, let me search again. I didn't see him when I typed Coleman in. Search Facebook, Coleman. He's not Frankie Coleman Sr., is he? Or is that his dad? Let me see. Ernest. Oh, okay. Yep. No, I am friends with him. Okay, I will send him an invite. I will definitely send him an invite. Oh, that's awesome. All right. See, I don't even know who's watching. You know, I tell the folks at G2, I'm like, hey, you know what? If you're G2, you're G2 all the time because you have no idea who's watching you. So you are always G2, especially if you're driving around in one of our vans. I think folks forget that. No use. The other one, he used to have that one. Okay. All right. Well, I saw the other one now that didn't say senior. I see the other one where it's someone else just friended him, and he's got something from Sinclair Missionary Baptist. So I know this is him, and it was a year ago, but he posted it a week ago. So I saw that on there, and then he posted, "Listen, trials are coming to help you grow, but remember God is still in control." All right. So yeah, I will definitely send him that. Maybe I'll wait till tomorrow since it's 1:40 in the morning. I don't want to wake anyone up, but I will do that. Yeah, because it would definitely be good to have him on for sure and have those conversations. Yeah, so like I said, you know, if you think of any conversations that you want to have on the Zoom, you know, let me know. And yeah, I think I'll start maybe doing the broadcast at 6 or 6:30. I think that's a pretty good time. We kind of close the doors at G2 around 4 anyway. So not that they really they don't even let me come into my own building, Cynthia. They want me to stay safe, so I don't even get there. I haven't been in my building in 2 weeks, I think, maybe 2.5 weeks. No, when it snowed, I walked to G2. So I was in my building because I walked there because no one could tell me I couldn't come in. And then, but before that, I think it had been like 2 weeks since I had been in my own building. So they are very, they're hyper protective of me because of, you know, my underlying health issues. So, you know, they definitely make sure I social distance. So, you know, when it snowed, I hadn't used my car in a week and I had to get a jump. So I had to call them and get a jump. So I do appreciate it. It's good that, you know, you got folks that are looking out for you. And so I do appreciate that. But, you know, it's nice to go into your building every now and then. So it's like, y'all got to let me come in here sometime. Like I come in there when I want to. But no, I do appreciate it. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and get off this line, take myself to bed. I got a men's meeting in the morning. But yeah, I will try that 6 o'clock hour. Please, do reach out to me as soon as you have a time that you want to come on. And like I said, if you have other topics that you want to discuss, or other people are saying that they want to talk about, just let me know, because we can have those conversations, because I think I really do want to provide a voice to those that don't have a voice, and kind of have these discussions on whatever it is. So, and I don't mind going there. I can take the heat. All right. Well, you have a good night too. I appreciate you tremendously. And I appreciate everyone else. Whether you watch live or you watch a rerun, you may watch this a month from now. I appreciate you either way. I do hope that you have a safe evening, you're able to get some rest, that you have a restful weekend, a purposeful weekend that hopefully is filled with self-care. And I will be back probably sooner than later, maybe even tomorrow. All right, this is Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit, and I will catch you next time.